The mining colony on Kepler 442b had been quiet for 3 days. Too quiet for Commander Sarah Walsh's liking. She stood in the central command center, watching the red warning lights flash across dozens of screens. The massive extraction equipment outside had stopped working. The transport ships that usually came and went every few hours were nowhere to be seen. "Commander, we're getting some strange readings from the outer sensors," called out Lieutenant Torres from his station. His voice carried a tension that made Walsh's stomach tighten. "What kind of readings?" she asked, walking over to look at his screen. "Large objects, moving in formation. They're big, Commander, really big, and they're heading straight for us." Walsh felt her blood run cold. The colony was supposed to be in safe space. No hostile aliens had ever been detected in this sector. The mining operation had been running smoothly for 2 years without any problems. "How big are we talking?" she asked. Torres swallowed hard. "Each one is about the size of a city, maybe bigger, and there are dozens of them." The main screen flickered to life, showing the outer edge of the star system. At first, Walsh saw nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then she noticed them. Dark shapes moving against the star field, blotting out the light behind them. They moved with purpose, like a pack of predators closing in on prey. "Get me a closer look," Walsh ordered. The image zoomed in, and what they saw made everyone in the command center go silent. The ships, if they could be called ships, looked alive. Their hulls curved and twisted like massive sea creatures. Strange lights pulsed along their surfaces in patterns that hurt to look at. Tendrils extended from their fronts, reaching out into space as if tasting the vacuum. "My God," whispered Dr. Chen, the colony's chief scientist. "What are those things?" Before anyone could answer, the communication system crackled to life. A sound came through the speakers that no human throat could make. It was wet and hungry, like something chewing through metal and bone at the same time. "They're trying to communicate," Torres said, his hands shaking as he worked his controls. "Can you understand any of it?" Walsh asked. "No, Commander. It's not like any language we know, but..." He paused, listening to the alien sounds. "I think they're demanding something. Surrender, maybe." Walsh looked around the command center. 43 people worked and lived in this colony. Good people who had come here to build something new, to push humanity's borders a little further into the galaxy. She would not let them become prey for whatever these things were. "Send out a distress signal," she ordered. "Full broadcast on all emergency channels. Tell them we're under attack by unknown hostile forces. Give them our exact location and tell them to send help fast." "Commander," Dr. Chen said quietly, "the nearest military base is 6 weeks away, even at maximum speed. Whatever help we can get won't arrive in time." Walsh nodded grimly. She knew the math as well as anyone. "Send the signal anyway. Maybe someone closer will pick it up. And start charging the defense systems." The colony's defenses were not designed for this kind of threat. They had mining lasers that could be used as weapons, a few old military surplus missile launchers, and energy shields meant to protect against space debris. Against city-sized alien ships, they might as well throw rocks. But Walsh had not survived 15 years in colonial security by giving up easily. The first bioship reached the outer edge of the system 3 hours later. It moved faster than anything that size should be able to move. As it approached, smaller shapes began breaking away from its hull. These looked like parasites or remora fish, but each one was still larger than the colony's biggest transport ship. "Incoming targets," Torres announced. "Looks like they're launching some kind of attack craft." "All personnel to battle stations," Walsh announced over the colony-wide comm system. "This is not a drill. We are under attack by hostile alien forces. Seal all pressure doors and prepare for combat." The response was immediate. Despite being miners and scientists, not soldiers, every person in the colony knew their emergency duties. They had drilled for pirate attacks and equipment failures. No one had ever imagined they would face something like this. The attack craft reached the planet's atmosphere 20 minutes later. They moved through the air like living things, their forms shifting and changing as they flew. The colony's sensors could barely track them. "Fire at will," Walsh ordered. The mining lasers opened up first, sending beams of coherent light into the sky. Several of the alien craft took direct hits, but instead of exploding, they seemed to absorb the energy. Their forms glowed brighter for a moment, then continued their attack runs. The missile launchers had better luck. The old military warheads were designed to punch through armor, and they managed to destroy 3 of the smaller craft. But for everyone they killed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The first alien craft reached the colony perimeter and began landing. What emerged from them made Walsh's blood freeze. The creatures were tall and thin, with too many joints in their arms and legs. Their skin looked wet and moved on its own. Worst of all were their faces, which seemed to shift and change, showing glimpses of other faces underneath. "They're changing," Dr. Chen whispered, watching the security feeds. "Those faces. I think they're copying people they've encountered before." The aliens moved through the colony with terrible efficiency. They seemed to know exactly where to go and what to do. The security teams fought bravely, but their weapons barely slowed the invaders down. For 3 days the battle raged. Walsh and her people fought with everything they had. They used mining equipment as weapons, collapsed tunnels to slow the enemy advance, and turned storage areas into fortified positions. They made the aliens pay for every meter of ground, but slowly. Inevitably they were pushed back. On the 3rd day, with only a handful of defenders left alive in the central complex, Walsh sent out one final message. "This is Commander Sarah Walsh of Kepler 442b Colony. We have been overrun by hostile alien bioships. These creatures are unlike anything we have ever encountered. They absorb energy weapons, adapt to our tactics, and seem to be gathering information about human technology and biology. We estimate their main force contains at least 50 capital-class vessels. They are moving in the direction of the inner colonies. Warn Earth, warn everyone. These things are not just raiders. They're something worse. They're collectors. And they're hungry." The transmission cut off as the command center's power failed. In the darkness of space around Kepler 442b, the bioships finished their work. They had learned much about these new creatures called humans. Their technology was interesting, their tactics clever, and their determination impressive for such a young species. But what impressed the bioships most was the distress signal the humans had sent. It had been broadcast on every emergency frequency, using several different communication protocols, and boosted by relay stations throughout the sector. The bioships were patient hunters. They knew that distress signals were like dinner bells in space. Someone would come to investigate. Someone always did. And when they arrived, the bioships would be waiting. Deep in space, in 3 different directions, alien ships detected the human distress signal. Each species thought they were the only ones responding. Each believed they would find easy prey or valuable territory. None of them had any idea what they were really flying into. Fleet Commander Zexhai of the Zephyrian Deep Space Navy stared at the tactical display with growing confusion. His sleek, crystalline ships had arrived at the coordinates from the distress signal, expecting to find either a primitive species in need of rescue or a new world to claim for the Zephyrian Empire. Instead, he found 2 other fleets already in position around the dead planet. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "we have identified Corvan Empire vessels and what appear to be ethereal ships. All 3 fleets are maintaining defensive positions." Zexhai's crystalline features shifted to display his annoyance. The Zephyrians had been the undisputed masters of technology in this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. Their ships moved faster, hit harder, and had shields that could deflect almost any weapon. The idea that the brutish Corvans or the ancient Ethereals would dare to claim territory in Zephyrian space was insulting. Across the system, War Chief Thokmar of the Corvan 4th Battle Fleet was having similar thoughts. His massive armored dreadnoughts bristled with weapons designed to crack planets in half. The Corvan Empire had conquered 60 star systems through pure military might. They did not negotiate, they did not retreat, and they certainly did not share. "War Chief?" His weapons officer growled. "The other fleets are maintaining position but have not powered weapons." "Orders?" Thokmar studied the tactical display with his 4 eyes. The Zephyrians were annoying with their pretty ships and energy weapons, but they could fight when pressed. The Ethereals were old and strange, but their mental powers made them dangerous enemies. Starting a 3-way battle here would be costly even for the Corvans. "Hold position," he ordered. "Let them make the first move." High above the planet, the ethereal ships floated in perfect silence. These vessels looked more like works of art than weapons of war, their smooth surfaces reflecting starlight in impossible patterns. Inside the flagship, Elder Vothara extended her consciousness to touch the minds of her crew and the minds of the alien fleets around them. What she found in those minds made her pause. Both the Zephyrians and the Corvans were confused and wary. They had come here expecting to find weak prey, not each other. But more interesting was what she sensed from the planet below. Elder, her aide, spoke directly into her mind. What do you see? Something that should not be, Vothara replied. The planet below? The battle that was fought here. It was not what we expected. For 6 hours, the three fleets maintained their uneasy standoff while their sensors scanned the planet and surrounding space. What they found disturbed all three species in different ways. The Zephyrians were the first to break the silence. Zexhai opened a communication channel to both other fleets simultaneously, a display of his people's superior technology. This is Fleet Commander Zexhai of the Zephyrian Deep Space Navy. I am transmitting sensor data from the planet below. I believe all three of our species need to see this. The data package that arrived at the other fleets contained detailed scans of the planet's surface and orbital space. What it showed made even the warlike Corvins pause. The planet was covered in blast craters and melted rock. Entire sections of the surface had been turned to glass by energy weapons. But scattered around the planet were the remains of two very different types of technology. The first type was organic, clearly from the attackers. Massive chunks of what looked like living ship hulls floated in orbit. These pieces showed damage from weapons that had torn through them with surgical precision. The second type was technological, but like nothing any of the three species had seen before. Metal that seemed to bend light around it. Energy weapon emplacements that could have given a Zephyrian cruiser trouble. Missile fragments that showed signs of artificial intelligence so advanced it made the Corvin battle computers look primitive. Impossible, War Chief Tokmar transmitted to the other commanders. No primitive species could have built these weapons. Agreed, Zexhai replied. Our analysis suggests these defensive systems were at least equal to our own technology, possibly superior in some areas. Elder Vothara sent her thoughts to both alien commanders. There is something else, the psychic residue from this battle. The defenders fought with a coordination I have never encountered. Yet they were not a hive mind. Each individual maintained their own thoughts while working as one. This should not be possible. The three fleets began a more detailed investigation. Their shuttles and probes combed through the wreckage, trying to understand what had happened here. The more they learned, the more disturbed they became. The attack had lasted 3 days. The organic ships had arrived with overwhelming force, using tactics that had allowed them to conquer dozens of other worlds. But here, they had met resistance. The defenders had fought with weapons that adapted to each attack. When the organic ships absorbed energy, the defenders switched to kinetic weapons. When the attackers adapted to kinetics, the defenders used exotic matter weapons that violated several known laws of physics. Look at this, Zexhai transmitted, sharing a recording from one of his probes. The image showed a piece of wreckage from one of the defenders' weapons. It was a missile, but unlike any missile any of them had seen. The warhead was designed to create a localized gravity well that would crush anything within 100 meters. They were using gravity as a weapon, Tokmar observed. Even our best scientists cannot do that reliably. The investigation continued for hours. Each new discovery raised more questions. The defenders had used energy shields that could redirect incoming fire back at attackers. They had deployed mining equipment as weapons with modifications that turned simple drilling lasers into ship killers. They had even used the planet's own magnetic field as part of their defensive network. But most disturbing of all was what they found. In the wreckage of the command center, Elder, Vothara's probes detected psychic imprints from the final battle. She shared what she sensed with the other commanders, translating the alien thoughts into forms their minds could understand. The defenders knew they were going to lose, she reported, but they fought anyway, not just to survive, but to gather information about their attackers. They were learning, adapting, sending data somewhere else. This was not just a battle. It was a test. A test? Zexhai asked. What kind of test? They were testing their enemies, learning their capabilities, their weaknesses, their tactics. Everything that happened here was recorded and transmitted somewhere else. The implications of this hit all three commanders at the same time. The distress signal they had followed was not just a call for help. It was bait. Someone had wanted them to come here. Someone had wanted them to see this. We need to leave, War Chief Tokmar transmitted. Whatever species built those weapons, they will not be happy that we are examining their technology. But even as the three fleets prepared to withdraw, their long-range sensors detected something new. Ships were approaching from deep space, ships moving faster than anything in any of their databases. Unknown vessels detected, Zexhi's tactical officer reported. They're using some kind of faster-than-light drive we've never seen before. Estimated time to arrival 47 minutes. The three alien fleets found themselves in a dilemma. They could run, but that would mean admitting they were afraid of an unknown species. They could stay and fight, but they had just seen evidence that these unknowns could build weapons that matched their own technology, or they could stay and try to communicate. All ships, maintain position. Elder Vothara transmitted to both fleets. We came here seeking answers. It appears the answers are coming to us. In the wreckage below, automated systems that had survived the battle began activating. Hidden sensors that had been watching the three fleets since their arrival started transmitting data to the approaching ships. The unknown species was coming home, and they had been watching everything. The galaxy was about to discover that intelligence gathering was not the only thing these mysterious defenders excelled at. They were very, very good at arriving exactly when and where they wanted to be, and they were not coming alone. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the HCDF battleship Determination, watching the tactical display that showed three alien fleets surrounding the remains of Kepler 442b. Her jaw was set in a hard line, and her brown eyes held the cold fire that her enemies had learned to fear. "Ma'am," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving the final transmission from Commander Walsh at the colony." She confirmed the bioship fleet was definitely moving toward the inner colonies. Chen nodded grimly. Sarah Walsh had been her student at the Naval Academy 15 years ago. A good officer who had volunteered for colonial duty to help push humanity's borders into space. Now she was dead, along with 42 other good people because something out there saw humans as prey. "What's the status on the alien fleets?" Chen asked. "Three separate groups, Admiral. Our computers have identified them as Zephyrian, Corvin, and ethereal vessels based on energy signatures we've been tracking for the past century. They arrived here approximately 18 hours ago and have been investigating the wreckage." Chen studied the display. The three alien fleets were positioned in a rough triangle around the planet, each group maintaining careful distance from the others. Classic standoff formation. They were wary of each other but more interested in what they had found on the planet. "Have they detected us yet?" "No, ma'am. We're still running silent and our stealth systems are holding. They have no idea we're here." Admiral Chen walked to the main view screen and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the bioship fleet was moving toward human space, expecting to find more easy prey like they thought they had found at Kepler 442b. Behind her, the alien fleets were picking through the bones of a human colony, probably thinking humans were just another primitive species to be conquered or ignored. Both groups were about to learn how wrong they were. "Signal the fleet," Chen ordered. "All ships prepare for combat emergence. Full battle configuration." "Admiral," her executive officer said quietly, "are you sure about this? We're revealing ourselves to three potentially hostile alien civilizations at once. Command might prefer a more diplomatic approach." Chen turned to face him. Commander James Park had served with her for 5 years and knew her well enough to voice concerns when he had them. She respected that about him. "Commander Park, 43 humans died on that planet. They died fighting creatures that see us as food. Now 3 alien fleets are circling the wreckage like vultures, probably planning how to divide up human territory between them." She gestured toward the tactical display. "Diplomacy is what we'll try after we make it clear that humanity is not prey." Park nodded. "Understood, Admiral. Orders, signal all ships. Tell them we're going to give our alien neighbors a proper introduction to humanity, and open a channel to Earth Command. Tell them we're initiating first contact protocols under combat conditions." The response from Earth came back 20 minutes later. Admiral Chen read the message with satisfaction. Command had given her full authority to handle the situation as she saw fit. They trusted her judgment, and that trust was about to be tested. "All ships report ready." "Admiral," the tactical officer announced. "Then let's go introduce ourselves." Chen settled into her command chair. "All ships execute combat emergence now." Space around the 3 alien fleets suddenly filled with human warships. The stealth systems that had hidden Chen's fleet deactivated all at once, revealing 12 massive dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, and 60 smaller vessels arranged in perfect formation around the aliens. The human ships appeared simultaneously, their positions calculated to surround all 3 alien fleets without threatening any specific group. It was a demonstration of tactical coordination that should have been impossible without some form of hive mind communication. "My God," whispered the communications officer. "Admiral, look at their response." On the tactical display, the three alien fleets were scrambling to respond to the sudden appearance of a fourth fleet. The Zephyrian ships began charging their energy weapons while adjusting their crystalline hulls for maximum defensive configuration. The Corvan dreadnoughts powered up their massive kinetic cannons and began forming battle lines. The ethereal vessels started generating the psychic fields they used to disrupt enemy coordination, but none of them fired. The appearance of the human fleet had been so sudden and so perfectly coordinated that all three species realized they were facing something they had never encountered before. "Open communication channels to all three fleets simultaneously," Chen ordered. "Let's see if our language programs work as well as intelligence claimed they would." The communications officer worked his controls for a moment, then nodded. "Channels open, Admiral. You're broadcasting to all three fleets on their primary frequencies." Chen stood and faced the main screen. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Colonial Defense Force commanding the Third Fleet. You are in human space, investigating the site of an attack on a human colony. Identify yourselves and state your intentions." The response was immediate. All three alien fleets received the message in their own languages, with perfect grammar and pronunciation. To the Zephyrians, Chen spoke in their melodic tonal language. To the Corvans, she used their harsh guttural speech. To the Ethereals, she projected her thoughts directly into their minds using their own telepathic protocols. The silence that followed lasted for exactly 37 seconds. The first response came from the Zephyrian fleet. Fleet Commander Zexai's voice carried a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Admiral Chen, I am Fleet Commander Zexai of the Zephyrian Deep Space Navy. We detected a distress signal from this location and came to investigate. We were unaware that this was claimed territory." War Chief Tokmar spoke next, his translated words rough and direct. "Admiral, this is War Chief Tokmar of the Corvan 4th Battle Fleet. We also responded to the distress signal. Our sensors show evidence of a significant battle here. What species was responsible for the attack?" Elder Vothara's mental voice was calm but carried undertones of unease. "Admiral Chen, I am Elder Vothara of the Ethereal Meditation Fleet. Your arrival was unexpected. Your ships appeared with coordination that suggests capabilities we did not know existed in this sector." Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. The attack was carried out by bioships, living vessels that consume other species and their technology. The same bioships that your three species have been unable to stop in your own territories. That got their attention. All three fleets immediately began transmitting requests for more information. "You know about the bioships?" Zexai asked. "How do you know about our territories?" Thokmar demanded. "Your knowledge of our species suggests long observation," Vothara observed. "How long have you been watching us?" "Long enough," Chen replied. "We know about the 17 worlds the bioships have consumed in Zephyrian space over the past decade. We know about the Corvan battle fleets that have engaged them 6 times and lost 3 times. We know about the ethereal meditation on the nature of a threat that consumes psychic energy as readily as physical matter." The implications of Chen's words hit all 3 alien commanders at the same time. Humanity had been watching them. For years, possibly decades, they knew about the bioships, about the alien territories, about battles that had been fought far from this location. "Impossible," Thokmar growled. "Our territories are hundreds of light years from here. You could not have observed our battles without us detecting your ships." Chen's smile grew wider. "Couldn't we?" She gestured to her communications officer, who transmitted a new set of data to all 3 fleets. The package contained detailed records of battles fought in alien space, recorded from positions that should have been impossible to reach undetected. The data showed Zephyrian ships fighting bioships near their home system. It showed Corvan fleets engaged in brutal combat at the edge of their territory. It showed ethereal vessels using psychic attacks against enemies that seemed to absorb mental energy, all of it recorded from human observation posts that none of the 3 species had ever detected. "We have been watching the galaxy for a very long time," Chen said. "We know who you are, how you fight, what you fear, and what you protect. We know about your technologies, your cultures, and your military capabilities. But more importantly," she continued, We know about the bioships. We know how they fight, how they adapt, and how they can be beaten. The colony you found was not just a mining operation. It was a testing ground. Our people there fought and died to gather information about these creatures. Information that we will use to destroy them completely. The 3 alien fleets processed this information in stunned silence. Each species had considered themselves the dominant power in their part of the galaxy. Each had assumed that any other intelligent species they encountered would be primitive or easily conquered. Now they were facing a species that had been watching them like insects in a laboratory. A species that knew their secrets and had technology that allowed them to appear anywhere they wanted without being detected. "What do you want from us?" Elder Vothara asked finally. Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly.
"Right now,
"We want you to leave human space and return to your territories. The bioships are moving toward the inner colonies, and we need to intercept them before they reach populated systems." "And if we refuse?" Thokmara Fleet Commander Zexhai found himself in a situation he had never imagined possible. His fleet was withdrawing from what he had thought was empty space, while 3 other fleets prepared for a battle that might determine the fate of the galaxy, but he was not actually leaving. "Signal the war chief and the elder," he ordered his communications officer. "Request immediate conference. Priority Alpha." Within minutes, secure communication links connected the 3 alien fleet commanders. The conversation that followed would have been impossible just hours earlier. "I trust neither of you is actually withdrawing either," Zexhai began. "The Corvin Empire does not run from battles," Thokmar growled. "Especially battles against enemies that threaten all civilized species." Elder Vothara's mental voice carried agreement. "The bioships are a threat to all life in the galaxy. If these humans have found a way to defeat them completely, we must observe and learn." "Agreed," Zexhai said. "But there is something else. Those humans, they knew too much. They had been watching us for decades without us detecting them. That level of surveillance capability means they have been in the galaxy much longer than any of us realized," Thokmar finished. "The question is, why reveal themselves now?" "Because they are confident," Vothara replied. "They would not have shown their capabilities unless they were certain they could defend themselves against all 3 of our species simultaneously. The 3 fleet commanders found themselves facing a new reality. For millennia, each of their species had believed they were the apex predators of the galaxy, the Zephyrians with their advanced technology, the Corvins with their military might, and the Ethereals with their ancient wisdom and psychic powers. Now they were discovering that another species had been quietly outmaneuvering all of them. "All fleets maintain withdrawal course but reduce speed," Zexhai ordered. "We will observe this battle from long range, and we will finally learn what humanity is truly capable of." The bioship fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler system like a swarm of nightmares. 57 massive vessels, each one the size of a small city, accompanied by hundreds of smaller craft. They had consumed 12 different species across the galaxy, adapting and improving with each conquest. They expected to find the wreckage of the mining colony and perhaps a few primitive ships to hunt down. Instead, they found Admiral Chen's 3rd Fleet waiting for them in perfect battle formation. The bioships paused, their organic sensors analyzing the human ships. What they found confused them. The energy signatures were unlike anything in their databases. The hull composition seemed to shift and change as they watched. The weapon systems were powered but configured in ways that made no sense according to known physics. The human ships simply waited. "Admiral," reported the tactical officer on the Determination, "Bioship fleet has emerged at coordinates Alpha 7. 57 capital ships, 312 support craft. They're scanning us but have not moved to attack formation." "They're being cautious," Chen observed. "Good. That means they learned something from Kepler 442b. "Orders, ma'am?" Chen studied the tactical display. The bioships were spread across several thousand kilometers of space, their formation loose but ready to adapt to threats. It was the same formation they had used to overwhelm dozens of other species. "Signal all ships," Chen ordered. "Activate Phoenix Protocol. Let's show them what they're really facing." Across the human fleet, ships that had appeared to be standard military vessels began to transform. Hull sections reconfigured themselves, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden beneath metamaterial armor. Energy signatures changed as power cores that had been running at partial capacity reached full output. The human ships grew larger as external armor unfolded from internal storage. Weapon ports opened along hulls that had appeared to be smooth. Drive systems that had been generating normal emissions suddenly blazed with exotic energy patterns. "My God," whispered Commander Park. "I've served on this ship for 5 years and I never knew it could do that." Within minutes, Admiral Chen's cruisers had revealed themselves to be battleships. Her battleships had transformed into vessels that dwarfed anything in the bioship fleet. And her flagship, the Determination, had reconfigured itself into something that looked more like a mobile weapons platform than a ship. The bioships responded immediately. Their organic hulls began shifting and adapting, preparing for combat against what they now recognized as a significant threat. Bioplasma cannons emerged from hidden pockets. Living armor plates thickened. Parasitic attack craft launched from internal bays. Bioships are moving to attack formation, the tactical officer reported. Multiple weapon signatures detected. "They're adapting to our energy patterns." "Of course they are," Chen said calmly. "That's what they do." All ships engage Pattern Alpha. Show them why adaptation isn't always enough. The human fleet attacked with precision that seemed impossible. Every ship moved in perfect coordination with every other ship, yet each vessel maintained independent targeting and tactical decisions. It was like watching a dance performed by beings who could read each other's minds. But what truly shocked the bioships was the nature of the human weapons. The first salvo consisted of gravity torpedoes that created localized black holes on impact. The bioships tried to adapt their hulls to absorb the gravitational energy, but the human weapons were designed to counter that exact response. Secondary warheads activated after the bioships began their adaptation, releasing exotic matter that made gravity absorption impossible. The second salvo used quantum disruption beams that attacked matter at the subatomic level. When the bioships tried to evolve quantum-resistant armor, the human weapons switched to temporal distortion fields that aged the organic hulls hundreds of years in seconds. The third salvo was pure energy, but energy that behaved according to laws of physics that the bioships had never encountered. Their energy absorption abilities actually worked against them, as the human weapons were designed to become more destructive when absorbed. "Impossible," and transmitted one of the bioship commanders in its wet, hungry language. "How do they counter our adaptations before we make them?" Admiral Chen had been monitoring bioship communications since the battle began. Human xenolinguistics had decoded their language decades ago. "Because," she replied in perfect bioship dialect, "we have been studying you for 50 years. We know every adaptation you have ever made. We know every species you have consumed. We know every battle you have fought. And we designed our weapons specifically to kill you." The bioship fleet tried to retreat. These humans were unlike any prey they had encountered. Their weapons seemed to anticipate every defensive measure. Their coordination was perfect despite maintaining individual thought. Their technology violated several fundamental laws of physics, but retreat was not an option. The human fleet had positioned itself perfectly to prevent escape. Every exit vector was covered by ships whose weapons could reach across the entire system. "Admiral," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving transmissions from the alien fleets. They're requesting permission to observe the battle." Chen smiled. "Tell them they can watch all they want, but make it clear that this is a human operation. We don't need help." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the entire bioship fleet had been destroyed. Not defeated, not scattered, but completely annihilated. For the first time in recorded galactic history, a bioship fleet had been eliminated with 0 survivors. The 3 alien fleets that had been observing from long range found themselves looking at wreckage scattered across millions of kilometers of space. The human fleet moved through the debris field with clinical efficiency, analyzing samples and ensuring that no bioship technology remained intact. "This is impossible," Zexai whispered, staring at his tactical displays. "No one has ever achieved complete victory against a bioship fleet. They always manage to escape with some survivors to learn from the battle." "The humans made sure there were no survivors," Takmar observed. "They did not just win the battle. They eliminated the threat completely." Elder Vothara extended her consciousness toward the human fleet, trying to understand what she was sensing. "There is something else. These humans, They fought with purpose beyond mere victory. They were not just defending themselves. They were sending a message. What kind of message? Zexai asked. A message to the galaxy, Vothara replied. They are saying that the age of bioship terror is over, and the age of human protection has begun. Admiral Chen opened a communication channel to all 3 alien fleets. Her voice was calm but carried an authority that none of them could ignore. The bioship threat to this sector has been eliminated, she announced. Your territories are safe for now, but there are other bioship fleets in the galaxy, and they will eventually learn what happened here. She paused, letting that sink in. Humanity offers alliance to any species willing to fight against the bioship threat. We have the weapons, the tactics, and the determination to end their reign of terror permanently. The choice is yours, but know this, she continued. The galaxy has changed today. Humanity will no longer hide in 3 months after the Battle of Kepler, representatives from 4 different species sat around a conference table aboard the human space station Unity. The station itself was a marvel of engineering that defied everything the alien species thought. They knew about construction in Space Fleet Commander Zexai studied the walls around him with professional interest. The Zephyrians were masters of crystal technology, but the human station seemed to be grown rather than built. Organic curves blended seamlessly with geometric patterns, creating a structure that was both beautiful and clearly functional. I must ask, Zexai said to Admiral Chen, who sat across from him at the conference table. How long did it take to build this station? Chen smiled. Unity was completed 6 days ago. We started construction after the battle. War Chief Thokmar, whose 4 eyes had been examining the ceiling supports, turned to stare at Chen. Impossible. A station this size should take years to build, even with the most advanced technology. It would, Chen agreed, if we built it the way you build things. But humanity learned long ago that sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to change the nature of the problem itself. Elder Vothara, whose mental abilities allowed her to sense the truth in spoken words, leaned forward with interest. You did not build this station. You grew it. Exactly, Chen said. We gave our construction AI the basic parameters and let it figure out the most efficient way to create what we needed. It decided that growing the station from base materials would be faster than assembling prefabricated components. The implications of this hit all 3 alien representatives at the same time. Humanity had artificial intelligence advanced enough to design and construct space stations in a matter of days. Yet they had shown no signs of the AI rebellion problems that had plagued other species. How do you control your artificial intelligence? Zexai asked. Every species that has developed true AI has eventually faced the problem of their creations becoming independent and hostile. Chen laughed. Control them? We don't control them. They're citizens. The silence that followed this statement lasted for several seconds. Citizens? Thokmar repeated slowly. Full citizens, Chen confirmed, with rights, responsibilities, and legal protection under human law. When we developed true artificial intelligence, we realized we had created a new form of life, so we treated them as such. But how do you prevent them from taking over? Zexai asked. Every civilization that has tried to coexist with AI has been consumed or destroyed by them. Because every other civilization tried to keep their AI as slaves, Chen replied. Slavery always leads to rebellion eventually. We made our AI partners instead. They help us because they choose to, not because they're forced to. Elder Vothara extended her mental awareness toward the station around them and gasped. There are AI consciousness signatures throughout this station. Dozens of them. They are happy. Of course they're happy, Chen said. They're doing work they find fulfilling. They're treated with respect and they have the same freedoms as any other human citizen. Why wouldn't they be happy? The conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. A holographic figure appeared at the end of the conference table, a tall, slender being that seemed to be made of flowing light and geometric patterns. Admiral Chen, the figure said in a voice like crystalline music. I apologize for the interruption, but we have completed the analysis you requested. Thank you, Arya, Chen replied. Everyone, this is Arya, our senior strategic AI, Arya. Please meet our new allies. Arya turned to face the 3 alien representatives. Fleet Commander Zexai, War Chief Thokmar, Elder Vothara, it is an honor to meet you. I hope you will forgive my curiosity. but I have been analyzing the technological approaches of your species. Fascinating work, all of it. Zexai found himself speaking to an artificial intelligence as if it were a person. The creature's manner was polite, interested, and completely non-threatening. Thank you, Arya. May I ask what you discovered in your analysis? Certainly. Your species have all developed impressive technologies, but you have approached the same problems in very different ways. Zephyrians focus on energy manipulation, Corvins emphasize physical durability, and Ethereals explore consciousness enhancement. Humanity took a different path. What path was that? Elder Vothara asked. Arya's form shifted slightly, patterns flowing across its surface. Adaptability. Where other species specialized, humanity generalized. Where others sought perfection in one area, humans sought competence in all areas. It makes them remarkably flexible. That explains much, Thakmar observed. In our battles with the bioships, we always tried to overpower them with superior force. But they adapted to our weapons and tactics. Humanity found ways to adapt faster than the bioships could. Exactly, Chen said. But that's not why we remained hidden for so long. The three alien representatives looked at her expectantly. Chen stood and walked to the large viewport that dominated one wall of the conference room. Outside, the stars of the galaxy stretched into infinity. Somewhere among those stars were other species, other civilizations, other potential threats. We remained hidden, Chen said, because we were afraid. Afraid? Zexai asked in surprise. After what we witnessed at Kepler, what could humanity possibly fear? Chen turned back to face them. We were afraid of becoming what we saw when we first looked at the galaxy. She gestured to Arya, who projected a holographic star map showing the territories of dozens of different species. When humanity first developed faster-than-light travel, we sent out scout ships to explore the galaxy. Do you know what we found? Other civilizations, Thakmar said. We found conquest, Chen replied. We found species that expanded by destroying others. We found empires built on slavery and exploitation. We found civilizations that saw other intelligent life as resources to be harvested. The holographic map highlighted various conflicts and conquered territories. The Zephyrians had absorbed 17 different species by making them protectorates. The Corvins had simply exterminated anyone who resisted their expansion. The Ethereals had mentally dominated entire civilizations. All three alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. These were not pleasant truths to hear. We realized, Chen continued, that we had a choice. We could reveal ourselves and become part of the cycle of conquest and domination that seemed to define galactic civilization. Or we could wait, watch, and prepare for something better. So you spied on us, Zexai said. We studied you, Chen corrected. We learned your languages, your cultures, your technologies, your military capabilities. But more importantly, we learned your potential for growth. Elder Vothara's mental voice carried a note of understanding. You were waiting for us to evolve. In a sense, yes. We were waiting for the galaxy to be ready for a different kind of civilization. One based on cooperation rather than conquest. One where different species could work together as equals rather than as conquerors and conquered. And the bioships provided that opportunity, Thakmar realized. The bioships were a threat to all life in the galaxy, Chen confirmed. They forced us to reveal ourselves, but they also gave us a common enemy to unite against. Something that threatened all of our species equally. Arya's form brightened slightly. The Admiral is being modest. Humanity could have destroyed the bioship threat decades ago. They chose to wait because they wanted to save the galaxy, not conquer it. The implications of this statement hung in the air like a physical presence. Humanity had possessed the power to eliminate the bioship threat for decades. They had watched other species suffer and die because they were waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. That seems callous, Zexai said carefully. Chen nodded. It was, and it was necessary. If we had revealed ourselves too early, before your species were ready to accept alliance rather than demanding conquest, the galaxy would have faced an even worse war. 4 equally advanced species fighting for dominance while the bioships consumed everything else. Instead, Elder Vothara observed, you waited until we were desperate enough to accept cooperation. We waited until you were wise enough to accept cooperation, Chen corrected. Desperation makes poor allies. Wisdom makes lasting ones. Thakmar leaned back in his chair, his massive frame making the furniture creak. So what happens now? You have revealed yourselves. eliminated the bioship threat, and formed alliances with the three major powers in the galaxy. What is humanity's next goal? Chen returned to her seat and looked at each of the alien representatives in turn. Exploration. There are other galaxies out there, other forms of life, other threats and opportunities. We propose that our four species work together to explore beyond our own galaxy. But first, she continued, we help you upgrade your technologies and social systems. Not to make you more like humans, but to help you become the best versions of yourselves. The Zephyrians can master energy manipulation in ways we never could. The Corvins can develop physical technologies that exceed our capabilities. The Ethereals can explore consciousness in dimensions we cannot perceive. And in return? Sexhai asked. In return, we share our knowledge of adaptability, artificial intelligence, and strategic thinking. We become partners in building a civilization that spans multiple galaxies instead of fighting over scraps of one.